Hello, my name is Benjamin, but you may call me Jam. You've reached Exercises in Blue. Please listen carefully, as our menu options have changed. For blue magic cards, press 1. For commander decks, press 2. For Vinwixit Verbose Host, press 3. For 99 variations of the same thing, press 4. For the French short story collection, Exercices de Style, press 5. For supernatural self-loading automatic firepower, press 6. Otherwise, for all the above combined in one video, please stay on the line. It's nice having choices, right? You get the virtue of flexibility and the faint sense of freedom. Magic the Gathering is no different. There are hundreds of cards and all manner of game mechanics which empower the player with a plethora of possible permutations. Not a new concept, actually. You saw them all the time back in the day. We had the charm cycles from Mirage, Visions, Onslaught, plus the command cycle from our very first trip to Lorwyn. In today's first deck, we will push the philosophy of multiplexity to its very limit. But if that doesn't appeal to you, don't worry, we've got a second deck later in the video, so there's no pressure to decide or make up your mind, and just take your time and think it over.
Press 3, want your girl British. Press 4, want your girl naughty and British.
Quick salute to Angela Giratana, Rashawn Scott, and I believe Madison Lanesy killing it as the late night love line. We'll go back to obsessing over the number 4 in a later video, but for now, this is Exercises in Blue, so you know how we do. We got 34 of those, 15 of these, which leaves 50... Wait, no, there's 14 of those. Why is that? Well, if the theme of the deck is modality, then we want a selection of cards that come with a clear selection of different modes you can pick when you play them. The Baby Queens don't exactly, precisely, literally do that, so they don't really count. However, when our commander is Vinwixit Verbose Host, we do want to get to max speed before the heat death of the universe. So for the sake of our precious 1/1s, we will a little bit bend the rules. But forget the exceptions, let's look at some examples. What does a modal spell even look like? Let's check out the one Baby Queen, which exemplifies modality perfectly. In the forthcoming Star Trek expansion set, available in November, perfect birthday gift for all you Scorpius and Sagittarius sci-fi babies, there will be this Federation Probe, a 1/1 flying artifact creature. When it enters, you can choose to pump up somebody, or you can do a little surveillance. Do the second one! Again, I don't know why random draft chaff from Universes Beyond is so goated in Vinwixit's decks, but if I ever want to revamp my Marvo / Vinwixit Pride Month deck, this one will be in there. Along with Dream Beavers. The not yet officially available 1/1 notwithstanding, 1/3 of our deck features those magic words, choose one. And so we shall. Some choose ones function as soft counterspells, not a hard no, just forcing our foes to cough up some extra mana. Or we could just draw a card. Other classical blue shenanigans, we could bounce permanents, even bounce some spells, or we could draw a card. We can stun some threatening creatures, untap a bunch of stuff we're not supposed to untap, or we could draw a card. We can sneak things into play, copy things that are already there, or we could draw a card. You can tell I have my preferences, but the point is we can pick the most powerful play in a pinch. Just when you thought choose one was too good to be true, let me tell you about choose two. At 4 mana, the commands are really more of a mid to late game option, but the versatility is worth your while. And then there's our single, special, choose 3. Of course, sometimes you can't make up your mind, you're feeling indulgent, you want it all. At the premium level we have choose one or both, an assortment of instants and sorceries capable of really cashing in on some extra flashy, especially splendid value. And of course, to top it all off, the ultra decadent choose one or more, when you want to spend 6 mana to do 5 separate things. We can even make our modal magic manifest materially as lasting enchantments. The struggle, the siege, and the besiegement will let you pick a mode when they enter. This one offers some nice protection. realistically, we're just picking the card draw mode from these. And who could blame me? On my upkeep, each other player draws a card, and then I draw for each card drawn that way? You know that Vinwixit turns that into 6 more cards every turn. He costs 2. The last of our by-the-book modal spells is the unbelievable sorcery from Bloomburrow, Season of Weaving. Our budget is 5 paw prints, I guess that's currency now, which we may spend varyingly on card draw, copies of artifacts/creatures, or washing away all non-land, non-token permanents to their owner's hands. At the base level, Vinwixit looks at this and lets you draw 10 cards. You know, if you wanna. For other decks in Exercises in Blue, this triples our racers' scoreboards. Any Whirlpool permanent means we're not just doubling our hand size, we're quadrupling it. Yeah, when Maldhound was shouting that one time about how Vinwixit got 50 cards in his hand, this is how you get there. Anyway, on the topic of referencing other YouTubists, the back half of our deck is still technically modal, but it's modal by virtue of various game mechanics which let us pay up for greater payouts. The ones in our deck go by 6 different names, but according to George over at Tolarian Community College, he thinks that they're all just kicker. And he is absolutely 100% correct. We've got a couple of literal kicker spells here in case we want to make an enormous illusion token, or if we want to have Jason, his best friend, scry through our deck like sullen teens browsing the used vinyl. But kicker comes in many monikers, including Cleave, which makes us pay extra to make the spell less sucky, Entwine for when we don't want to make up our minds, Overload, because we were always going to get the extra toppings, we don't lie to ourselves here, Tiered, as featured in the Final Fantasy games, because your enemies could always be more screwed, and Spree, offering the greatest range of customization, in some cases, an obscene range of customization. Again, copy the scoreboard, copy the whirlpools, you will feel happy. Now that you understand modal spells in the purest sense, as well as in the mostly similar sense, I shall attempt to justify the remaining baker's dozen of baby queens. Magic card mechanics such as Adapt, Disturb, Disguise, Megamorph, Power Up, Bestow, and Ninjutsu all offer additional or alternative abilities, not that we have to use them. A couple baby queens have one-time activations. Examples. The Beautiful Mockingbird can be a clone, but it doesn't have to be. The Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Bird has an adventure attached to it. 2 modes, I suppose. Finally, for our land base, not including our beautiful John Avon basics, we've got the Raceways, which unlock a second feature at max speed, Otawara, which can be channeled, and of course, the MDFCs. One last bit, because our modal spells are so goddamn expensive, we've thrown in a couple of transforming ramp rocks, just as a treat. Oh, how are we winning? We got a Hullbreaker Horror. We'll be fine. For our next deck, we'll be focusing on a very special archetype that Blue rarely gets to use. Guns. Pingers, the strategy of inflicting a negligible amount of damage a non-negligible amount of times. The mystical, rarefied art of the Thinking Mage's aggro. New viewers may be surprised to hear me bring this up in a video about mono blue magic, and who can blame you? As the decades have rolled by, Black and Red has claimed an unwavering majority on the archetype. A full 77% of all Pinger cards ever exist in Rakdos color identity. But at the risk of citing the deep magic to those who were there when it was written, Mono Blue had a solid standing of Pinger creatures, all through the first dozen years or so of MTG, going all the way back to Prodigal Sorcerer, the very first Tim, but continuing in one form or another as expansion sets came and went, some as recently as Time Spiral? It's the most recent? Oh god. I don't feel old. That word is vague and subjective. but I do occasionally remember that I've lived a very long, very full life, which is a privilege. Our Cuphead cosplay may feature numerous significant differences from other decks in this series. Nevertheless, this is Exercises in Blue, and we're trying something new. In a move that I hope I don't come to regret, we're still rocking 34 lands. And we've got 15 of these, but these aren't baby queens. They're a ragtag team of beasts, humanoids, inanimate objects, animate objects, and this coral reef, who can all tap to deal 1 to whoever they want. But wait, where's our 15th pinging pal? Why, it's none other than Vinwixit Verbose Host, a 0/4 homunculus of legend who, in addition to infinitizing our hand size and letting us double our pioche at max speed, is the perfect person to round out our squad just as soon as he takes a sip of the Elder Kettle's energy-blasting potion via one of these cards. Now, in truthful keeping with the title that I used at the needle drop, our card draw is going to come from the classics of Vinwixit's repertoire, but specifically using the looting type of card draw, where you draw a card and then must discard a card. I don't know if there's a strategic benefit to us doing that. We're not reanimating anything, but it fits the Cuphead theme. We like that. Some other essential purchases from Pork Rinds Emporium will include coffee, which will be our ramp, Smoke Bomb, the clutch equipable charm, especially when our firepower is coming exclusively from defenseless 1/1s. A few of our blue creatures have the Lobber upgrade already built in. They're dealing 2 damage, and then dying, unless we can protect them with this bubble matrix. I didn't mean for this to become an Unk video, but ooh, they don't make artifacts like that anymore. A couple of other divine relics include the 1000-year elixir for faster blasting, and the throne of the Nicol Bolas, which slugs our foes to the tune of how many Tims we leave tapped. Of course, the Beverage Brothers from Inkwell Isle are no strangers to supers, and neither is our squad, except we're getting up to some heinous bonus abilities. Plenty of fun little auras and instants. Curiosity lets us draw whenever we ping an opponent. Sigil of Sleep lets us boomerang a buckaroo when we ping their controller. Charisma lets us steal the hearts of whoever we injure. Sounds far-fetched. Not unheard of. Arm with Ether gives our squad a whole turn of force-pushing people, but the real sauce comes from the global enchantments. Dismiss into Dream turns all opposing armies into illusions who perish if anyone looks at them. And of course, everyone's favorite combo nightmare, Intruder Alarm, which stops all creatures from untapping normally, but will untap every creature as soon as a new creature has entered the chat. With enough 1/1 tappers on our side, that amounts to some plentiful ping slinging. And speaking of untapping, how come our Tims can only shoot once per turn? Cuphead and Mugman don't ever need to reload. They have infinite ammo. We are cosplaying as Cuphead, aren't we? Oh yeah. Darn tootin'. Several ways to sneak in extra untaps. We can get a few at the beginning of our end step. We can invest in supplemental untap steps. We can turn about for a quick second volley. Or we can bring back the Dramatic Scepter combo, throw in a couple of mana rocks, and show them what an infinite ammo glitch really looks like. Finally, because I love alternate win conditions, but don't worry, I can quit whatever I want to, it occurred to me that we are tapping lots of permanents, which is the perfect setup for the Millennium Calendar, a legendary artifact that gets time counters for everything that untaps during our untap step, can double its own counters for 2 in a tap, and when the calendar hits 1,000 time counters, you sack it, and it slugs everybody else for 1,000 damage. Bang! Links to both decks will live down in the video description. If at any point you find yourself in possession of comments which you must share with me, be ever so good as to place them below in the comments receptacle, and I shall attend to them as soon as I can. I got a trip later this month, so it might be a bit of a crunch getting the next video or 2 in, but I'm having fun making these. This isn't paying the rent yet, but I still am. In 2026, I call that a win-win, and you may still call me Jam. And for those of you who are watching and or listening, I thank you for your time and attention. Mwah. If we're doing honesty, it feels A little strange having a 3-mana firing squad instead of a bunch of 1/1 baby queens. Most of the decks that I've made for this video series feature creatures I can play on turn 1. Feels good, man. Feels like I'm off to a strong start. It feels productive. Probably doesn't sound very blue of me, does it? Yeah, back in the day, if I had to pick my favorite colors, it would easily be blue and red. Either way, you don't really need a lot of creatures, and the ones that you do run either hit the ground hasty or they feel like spells. I wasn't onboarding a pack of cronies to pick a street fight, I was overhanding ball lightning at people. Maybe that's why my favorite non-mono blue deck these days is my Tom Bombadil deck. Yes, it's got plenty of eligible suitors to attend Tom and Goldberry's swinger parties, but the Final Fantasy summons are where the real action is at. I guess one of my favorite creature types must be stories.